and all that stuff,
That's
getting my programs.
amazing. Yeah, launching a podcast is huge.
Yeah, yeah. So I have some great people I got to interview. It's so exciting.
That's awesome. So do you have like all of your episodes lined up and all ready to go?
Yeah, they're being edited right now.
Got it.
So they should be done for next week. And I've got, the show notes and all that stuff posted.
Yes.
Just plug in the recordings and then it's ready.
That's so exciting. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. And remind me, because I know I've seen your name both ways. Do you go by Linda or do you go by Emma?
Emma.
Emma.
Yeah. My full name is Linda Emma Oriema McKay. And
Okay.
Linda was my given name, which I don't care for. And it never.
Got it. Well, the Oriema is a really interesting name. Where did that come from?
That's Italian with Greek origin. Yeah.
Got it. Oh, I love it. Linda Emma Oriema. Okay, very cool. Okay, well, I'm glad I asked because I remember I seeing Linda on your form and then thinking like, wait, does she go by that or does she go by Emma?
Yeah, for the credit card and that kind of thing, it's, that I've had
Yes.
forever. So anyway.
Yeah. No, good to know. Well, I'm glad to see you here. And it looks like we have somebody named Charlotte joining. Welcome, Charlotte. Emma, do you have any particular questions I can help you with this week?
I do actually. Yeah, I missed you last week. With what I'm doing, I have a lot of visuals and I need a lot of pictures. And so if I give a talk, I kind of steal a lot from wherever I can find them.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation.
Kind of scary. I'm afraid to ask, but I know I have to ask this. But in my program, the photographs I use, I've paid for them through Shutterstock and
Yep.
those kind of things. But when I'm doing like talks and things like that, and little presentations, since it's not on the internet, I talked to a few people and they said, you're probably okay. So.
Oh, interesting. So let's have a chat about that. Welcome, Jeannie. I see Jeannie Lyons here. Welcome, Charlotte. So the question is about using visuals to support your presentations, right? And you're saying because your presentations are not on the internet, you feel like you've got a little bit more flexibility. So basically the most simple rule that I can tell people to keep you safe no matter what you're doing in your business is that if you have not purchased the image or created it yourself, right? If you haven't purchased either the image or the license to use the image, because you can get those different ways, or created it yourself, you should not use it because that is copyright infringement. Somebody else created it. You can't borrow it or use it for any commercial purpose whatsoever unless you have purchased it, you have a license to use, which that can be as simple as contacting whoever created the original visual and saying, hey, I have this presentation, this particular visual really supports it. Are you okay with me using your visual? And if somebody puts into writing that you can use it for a specific purpose, right, then that puts you in a much safer position than having no permission whatsoever. But outside of that, some of the biggest, big problems can happen when and this is also actually a really good conversation if you have affiliates. If anybody ever starts an affiliate program, because this comes up in the affiliate world all the time, somebody thinks like, oh, I'm doing a mailing to my list, I'll just snag this image right here that supports this topic or whatever and put it with the content that they're supposed to mail out for you. That subjects you and your business to a copyright infringement claim. So just the answer is no, don't do it for any reason whatsoever unless you have created the image, you've purchased it directly, or you have a license to use it for a very particular purpose. You don't want to be messing around with copyright infringement.
Well, kind of part two of that, Canva, they have free images that you can use.
Totally.
So
yeah. So there's lots of sites that will give you free use, right? So go to, oh my gosh, let me see if I can find my list. You can also just jump on Google and say free, websites with free images, because there's lots out there. There's like, what is it? Like Picabay, there's.
Yeah, they all charge. When I started doing this, I looked, and even though they say free, they all charge something like it ranges, you know.
Well, there are still free ones out there. I know because I use them and I have my VA using them. So I would need to go look up what they are because she's the one that does the searches. But there absolutely are sites out there that will give you images for free commercial use. Sometimes with attribution, you have to look at the language. Each image, when you click on it, usually through any of these websites, it will tell you, can you use it with attribution? Can you use it without? Do you have to purchase a license? You're right that a lot of them have upsells, like especially the more commercialized looking. Yeah, Unsplash is one. Thank you, Jeannie. There's others like that that are, you know, have amazing photography, like amazing images on there. So there absolutely are ways to find free images, but again, when you use those sites, like you're subject to their licensing language. This is what I'm talking about. Like make sure you have a license to use it. They'll tell you right along with the image what uses you can use that image for. So that would be the licensing language that applies. And you just don't ever want to like go to a website, snag an image, you know, snag an image or, you know, do that in any way without knowing, do you have the rights to use it, or asking directly, contacting somebody, especially if they created the image. But yeah, there are lots of good sites out there. So just do a Google search and you'll find some more. And then you're right, many of them have upsells like, you know, you can use it for free for certain uses. If you're going to use it for commercial purposes, you have to pay something. But even if you have to pay, that's a much safer position than, you know, accidentally crossing that line. Okay. Great question. That's a really important one, especially for all of us who basically we're all online publishers, right? You're in the online world of business. You're a publisher. You're a content creator. You have to understand these rules. So that's really good. Any other questions? Jeannie, good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. I just thought I'd hop it on because it was time and I thought, oh, okay. Yes. Now I can put off doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Well, I'm happy to see your face again. Are you staying well and able to hunker down and stay away from everybody?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, super weird time, I know. Charlotte, do you have any questions that I can help with today? Oh, and excellent. We've got Dr. Hauser on. Feel free, you guys, to unmute at any time if you've got a specific question you'd like help with. I was just chatting with both Emma and Jeannie. Emma asked a great question about copyright and using images for presentations. So if you want to recatch the intro of this, I always post the recordings of these videos to my YouTube channel. So that's a great place to grab them after the fact. But unmute yourself, which I think if you're on the phone is star 5 or star 6. I always forget because I just mostly do video Zoom these days. But Dr. Hauser or Charlotte, if you guys have questions, just feel free to unmute and or type them in the chat and we can try to get you some help.
I have another question.
Yeah.
The name of my course I started at and Facebook group and everything, I started out using the word realtors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the copyrighted trademark, yada, yada, yada.
Trademark, yes.
And I sent out some emails announcing I started this Facebook group, and one of the gals from the board, the membership gal, wrote me an email. She goes, oh, you've got to use this correctly and blah, 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 blah. And so I've changed everything to real estate professionals, but I see on podcasts names everywhere, people are using realtors. So I read their bylines and rules and all that stuff. So I'm just curious about that. Can I really not use it the way, because they said the only way you can use it, and I'm a member of the organization, so theoretically I can. But then they say, unless you're a broker, to use it in conjunction with your business name or your name being a realtor. So it's kind of confusing, and I don't know if there's a loophole kind of thing around that.
Well, yeah. So the risk, I mean, there's a couple ways. So, and I'm not an expert on the use of the name realtor. I have to go look up the trademark and read what kind of a trademark registration it is. There's different ways that trademarks are used, and essentially, like, and some of them can be used almost like a certification or a licensing program, like this. If you're a member of the you know, whatever, realtor, community, or board, then you get to use it mostly as an identifier that you belong to that organization, right? And so, which drives more traffic back to them, probably increases membership, etc. But they do have to regulate the use. So, for example, and this is kind of one of those areas where in the trademark world, and you have other examples that have gone before, like Kleenex or Xerox. Those are words that we now use pretty generically, like. Right. Kleenex means tissue, and probably we should all be calling it tissue, right? And but really people use that generic, like people know what Kleenex is, and they use it not necessarily to refer to Kleenex the company, but to Kleenex the thing. And so you can actually lose your rights to your trademark if the usage of your trademark becomes generic or becomes used to describe the thing versus the company. So that's a little bit where companies like realtor, because a lot of people use that word in common language now, meaning real estate agent, but instead they call them a realtor, right? Yes. And so, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens actually with that trademark, because if people continue to use it very generically, like, you know, truthfully, they could lose the right to their own trademark. But it is also why you're at risk of being policed, meaning that companies that are aware of that, like once you have a registered trademark, you have to police the industry. You can't, it's not a free for all. Like just because you own the trademark doesn't mean you get to sit back on your haunches. You have to actually enforce the trademark and prevent people from using it. And so in markets like that, you are at risk if you're using that outside of the rules, especially in support of growing your own business, like rather than just, you know, putting it like in your title of, you know, Emma, you know, I'm Emma Oriema McKay, I'm a realtor, right? Just introducing yourself versus like actually using it for your own business purpose. Yeah. So that's the distinction I would make, is if I were to guess, their rules allow you to use it to identify yourself as a realtor, not to use it to further any of your other business activities.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like I say, it's kind of in the title. It's not inferring I'm a realtor, or it's kind of defining who it's for.
Right, which would be you in furtherance of your business activities. So I think that going the route that you have, calling them real estate professionals, is much, much safer than using a trademarked name like realtors, because that's a hot button.
Even on my website, you know, I've been giving directions to go to my website /realtors. So I think I have to change that.
Yes, you're going to want to change that redirect, totally. Yeah. Change that.
Hey, Heather.
Yeah.
My name's Craig. As a follow-up to what you were just asking, or what you were answering, so if somebody's infringing, like somebody right now out there, I have Hauser Health trademarked, and somebody out there is using it as Hauser Healthy, I think.
Hauser Healthy, okay.
Yeah, so it's, you know, I think technically I could go after them and they started using it after me, but I don't actually think they're doing any damage to me. And is it worth, I mean, because I'm assuming there's a cost to this. You got to hire a lawyer. And
yeah, I mean, yes, you can. Yes and no. So here's the thing to know. I mean, and I want to start by saying, so I coach a lot of people on doing an information, like an IP assessment of their own businesses, their own company, like planning for some of this stuff. I don't actually do trademark registrations or enforcement for my clients. I know a thing or two about it, but I would be providing referrals to anybody who wanted assistance with either a trademark registration or enforcement of that. But here's what I can tell you, Craig, about that is that the trademark system really evolved as a way to protect consumers. So the question always is there the risk of consumer confusion? Like, would somebody look at Hauser Healthy and go, oh, and assume like, oh, that's Hauser Health, right? Probably it's close enough. There could definitely be customer or consumer confusion. So, you know, the question is, and there can be different ways that you address this. Let's talk about the risks first. If you allege infringement and somebody, I don't know, where are you based, Craig?
I'm in Maryland.
You're in Maryland. And then where is Hauser Healthy? Do you know where they're based?
I don't think they're in Maryland, but I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure.
Yeah, so you'd want to look that up. See if you can assess what state they're based in. The risk, especially when it comes to interstate stuff, is because a lot of people will just be like, oh, shoot off a takedown letter or cease and desist, and some people do just do that, not understanding the risk, and then they learn them quite quickly. If the party on the other side is sophisticated, if they have been using it for some time and they have what's called a common law trademark claim to it, meaning that maybe they actually have rights to that in their own area. There can be different kind of types of trademark rights, even if they're not federally registered. So you'd want to make sure that you really understand, like, how long have they been using Hauser Healthy? Where are they located? You know, all of these questions, because if you shoot off any kind of communication alleging infringement of your rights, you know, let's say they're based in Florida or California, they could bring a declaratory judgment. They could seek a declaratory judgment in their state saying that they have the rights to use that. And so you don't want to end up defending that kind of a lawsuit in a state that's not your home state, which can happen if people are, you know, sending communications that are alleging infringement. But there are still ways that you can handle it, which is to understand it, try to, you know, do a bit of research on it, figure out whether or not they have any other kinds of rights to that name. You know, if they just started using it within the last, you know, little bit, and you've been around for much longer using Hauser Health, etc., then, you know, put you in a stronger foothold. But you have to understand some of those things, because just having a federal registration doesn't necessarily mean that you have the rights to go pursue that. It really depends on the circumstances.
I think I've had mine for 5 years now, and I think she came online in the last year or so, and I just happened to discover it because I was trying to change my, I think it was Instagram account name from Dr. Hauser to Hauser Health. Yeah, and it came up because I couldn't get that name because I think it was too close to her name. And, you know, so I really didn't do anything with it. I just picked it up.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, this is not to say, and I can't assess all of the legal risks for you because I can't provide, you know, legal advice on these type of group calls, but the things to think about is that sometimes there's practical solutions that don't require legal help. So for example, in that type of scenario, like, I don't know, you know, and partly you have to determine, you have to do your best to assess the personality on the other side and their business, and also their business chops, like how savvy are they? How likely are they to have already, like, built in legal support in their business? Because if they're a really going, thriving business, they might be willing to fight you over it. And that wouldn't be very fun. But if they're not, if they're just a regular person trying to, you know, build a small personal brand or whatever, and they don't have a lot of money to throw at legal, or they're not interested in going down that road, you know, you could reach out in a more gentle way directly. And again, I cannot assess the legal risks with this route because I don't know very much about the scenario. And let's be clear, there would be legal risks, but sometimes just a real personal communication can make this kind of stuff go away. Like, I coach my clients all the time on dispute resolution and communicating really in a way that, like, kind of eliminates the need for legal help, right? Because the goal is that we all be rational and work together and try to resolve these problems with less expense. But, you know, like, maybe she's not even aware that you have a trademark and that it's so close to hers, right? And a personal message of, like, hey, I noticed, you know, I'm on Instagram and I have Hauser Health. It's been a federal registered trademark for 5 years. I see that, you know, you've got an Instagram channel that says, you know, you're under the handle of Hauser Healthy. You know, can you tell me a bit about that? Like, how long have you been doing that? Is that your business name, or is that just your Instagram handle? Like, you could do some questioning just to collect information without necessarily alleging infringement. And that would put you in the place of, like, learning a bit more, seeing if she's friendly, also notifying her that you've got Hauser Health. You know, that might be enough for her to go, oh, gosh, he's a nice guy. I didn't realize he had a trademark, or I didn't even know this existed. Maybe I should change my Instagram handle.
Can you ask, like, for instance, let's say she's in another state, and I've got another question for you, but I don't want to hog your time. But I've got an online supplement business that I'm trying to fire up.
Mm-hmm.
And so could I write to her and say, hey, I know you've, like you just said, be friendly and say, I'd be willing to allow you to keep that if you represented my product or something like that. Can you negotiate?
Well, I mean, yeah, certainly businesses negotiate all the time and they carve out exceptions. So for example, there are people that have registered trademarks and, or somebody else infringing on that, but they end up like paying a licensing fee or paying some settlement fee to use it in the way that they're using it. I mean, and again, I'm not an expert around trademark enforcement, but in your circumstance, the thing that I would be and I don't know what her business is about. I don't know like the likelihood of her
nutrition. She's
nutrition. Okay. And so basically you'd be saying, okay, you can use Hauser Healthy or Hauser Health, basically as an affiliate or something of your company. If you're going that route, I mean, you have to keep in mind, like, some of the other legal components that come with putting that type of a scenario in place, which is that you have other people now representing your business, right, to a certain extent, online, out there in the business world, and you have to be prepared that there are risks that come along with that as well. So that's not the first place I would go to with this scenario, is offering that up. I would more be exploring, hey, I saw that you had an Instagram handle that looks like this. I don't know if you knew, I've got a federal trademark registration and mine is this. And just see like, how long have you been in business? What, see about the information gathering side of it before you would go into strategy.
Okay.
At least strategy around,
I get you. Yeah, get your ducks in order first.
Yeah, I would want to just understand the situation a lot better before, knowing which way to go. But even then, like, there's some risk. If she feels like or thinks that you're alleging infringement, I mean, that's not to say she couldn't go get legal support right away. And,
Sure.
So it's a little bit like you do as much research as you can to assess somebody online, like how long have they been around, how savvy are they, how likely are they to have legal support already built into their business. If those things are not there, then having a real conversation with somebody and being very personable, might be a way to more easily resolve that outside of the legal world. But it's really hard to say without knowing somebody's personality, their likelihood to respond in a reasonable manner. Some people are super reasonable, other people are absolutely not reasonable.
Right.
Unfortunately, yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't learn which one they are until, you have to get into it. So, yeah, but it's good that you're aware. I would just see, can you do some more information collecting about her business and about, what she's up to, how long she's been around, if there's any likelihood that she's got a local trademark claim to that. But it sounds like you've already done a little bit of that if you feel like she's fairly new.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about her. I keep an eye out there. I've got a few other trademarks that are actually much more problem child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want, I could also, I offer this all the time. I could reach out if you wanted a referral to talk to somebody about trademarks. I mean, trademarks, because they're, especially if they're a federally, federal level trademark, you can work with attorneys, really anywhere in the nation that deal with that. And so I'm very happy to provide referrals if you wanted to consult somebody, on the specifics of your scenario.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
I have another question, but I'll let somebody else jump in.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead and ask it, or people can put in the chat if you've got a question or jump in. I just, if you've got one, let's move ahead.
Well, so I mentioned I've always had supplements that I have in my practice that I use for my patients, and I sell it directly to them. But I've just recently, like as of yesterday, put it online. And I've gone ahead and got a privacy policy and I forget all the different ones that you're supposed to have, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are to protect myself now that I'm thinking about reaching out beyond just my patients, like somebody literally off the street or from a state that I'm not even licensed in.
Yeah.
What should I be watching out for? And
So I don't necessarily have a lot of knowledge about the medical world. I work with a lot of professionals, a lot of licensed professionals, but it's more on the side of creating an information business online, right? So maybe they're already a doctor or a therapist or a massage therapist or anybody in the health world, but they're now adding like an informational component to their business, right? Which is really outside of their practice because they want it to be online, they want it to be interstate, they want it to serve people in different ways. So it's technically two different businesses. So that's a lot of where I spend my time. I imagine and for anybody who's a licensed professional, the first place that I always have people look is to your state licensing regulations, right? About what you can and can't do. That said, we all know that supplements are sold online, and I can jump on Amazon today and get any number of supplements. The biggest question I'd have, just thinking off the cuff, is whether or not that needs to be separate from, like, I'm not sure, I haven't examined your online real estate. I don't know what your online business looks like. Having the supplement side be separate and apart from like anything related to your medical practice, right?
you mean like setting up a separate LLC type of?
Yeah, that if you're going beyond state boundaries, but I don't know, like there'd have to be a bit of research done into this because I don't specialize in the supplement world or the medical world as far as the traditional side goes.
Okay.
But when it comes to supplements generally, you're going to want all kinds of probably disclaimers related to people's health and, and advice. And the key with the online portion, especially since you are a licensed professional, is having, if you're offering any information, any tips or guidance or anything, that you're not doing that from the professional side of your practice. So that, and this is where I'm talking about having an information business where, all kinds of like think of a licensed couples therapist who then is doing a program on the internet for couples that it's designed to support their relationship, but not as a therapist, as a coaching program. Right? That's what I'm talking about. So it's really about understanding what your licensing regulations say first, what falls within that, and then what falls outside of that. And then if you're going to do anything in the online information world, really, I would have that entirely set up under a separate business entity. Like you keep those portions of your businesses very separate so that people are really clear that if they're engaging you online, if they're getting any kind of support or information from you online, but they're in California, they're not engaging you as a medical doctor, right? It's that's the way to start thinking about it. But for sure, for anybody with questions that are specific to a licensed profession that is state specific, you would want probably an attorney in your home state to be able to advise you on what falls within the scope of your practice, what would require that you
How do you find an attorney like that, and what are they called? Because I played tennis with two attorneys, but I have no idea if they're the right ones,
Right. Well, so, generally the larger categories, they're a business attorney, right? So people that, but the problem, and here's the trick about that, is I feel your pain, because even within the business world, there are plenty of business attorneys who know very little about online business, and for sure about like online information-based businesses that are not some of the big businesses out there, right? There are plenty of attorneys who know about big business online. But the information world, what I call information entrepreneurs, and those are largely the people that I support: coaches, consultants, online experts, speakers, authors, licensed professionals who are setting up one of those kinds of businesses. It's a subset of the business world, and there are attorneys who know that world, but you're going to want to find somebody, and I'm happy to ask for referrals, by the way, so I can ping my network. I belong to several listservs. You're going to want to definitely find somebody that understands internet business and internet laws, the laws that apply to doing business online and interstate commerce. But it's going to generally fall within the business world category. It's, yeah, but it can be a trick. I'll be honest, it can be hard. One of the reasons people find me from around the world is because they have tried to find somebody who understands what they're doing in business, and they've been unsuccessful. And that's not to say that there aren't people in their home countries that understand it, but it just can be hard to find them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're welcome to ping me. Emma, good to see you. I might have missed her hopping off. You're welcome to ping me or drop me an email if you want me to try to help collect referrals for you. I'm happy to do that.
Oh, thanks. What's your email?
Yeah, you can email me at info@legalwebsitewarrior.com.
Okay.
How's Maryland doing? I see they're going through the big spike in the news right now.
Gosh, it's just ramping up here. Yeah, it's growing and growing.
What's your practice area, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm an integrative and functional medicine doctor, so I combine regular medicine that we're used to with all the other medicines from around the world.
Yeah.
And use those, which is kind of nice because people are asking about herbs and supplements now. Where's
That's right.
vitamin D. Yeah, so it's good for me, and I don't have any trouble switching over to virtual. The problem is everybody's hunkering down and nobody wants to spend any money right now. So
yeah, it's a little rough. I mean, a lot of people are being just so impacted by this. Well, and it's a good time. I mean, even for people who are thinking about doing online business, it's a really good time to build relationships, right? If you can float through this period and see it as kind of a foundational piece and really focusing on the basics in business. But yeah, it is bizarre, for sure.
It is. Well, I really appreciate your time and your information. I'm definitely going to I'll shoot you an email in just a few seconds here.
Great. No, I'd be happy to try to collect some referrals for you.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's nice talking with you.
Yeah, you too. Take good care.
You too.
All right. Any other questions today? Charlotte, if you've got something that you want help with, I invite you to speak up. Jeannie, I know you're still on, probably trying to avoid work. I say that with a wink. That's okay. We all sometimes need a reason not to do the thing that we should be doing, but I'm happy to be that reason for you.
Thank you so much.
Jeannie, while you're on, did you get your website documents plugged in?
I did.
Good.
Yeah,
I was just going to circle back through the last 3 workshops that I've done on that website protection package. I was going to circle back around and find out, like, where are people at? Did you get it completed and plugged in? How are you doing with that?
Doing well. And actually, Jen Mayer is going to do an audit for me, too. So
oh, good. Who's Jen? Is she?
Jen, I'm sorry. Jen is a copywriter.
Oh, got it. So she's going to just check it, make sure the links are working and everything's up, right?
Yeah, and I checked it also, but she's doing it mostly for the copy, and she's one of my copyright coaches. So.
Oh, good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, actually, I'll shoot you an email because it's probably appropriate in the public. To ask you this, that maybe you would be a guest for me one day.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to. Yeah, totally drop me an email. We can connect on that.
All right. Terrific.
Awesome. All righty. Well, Charlotte, if we don't have any more questions, I will sign off for the day, you guys. It was good to see you on here. Good to connect with some new faces. Good to see you again, Jeannie. Hope you're staying well and staying sane in this wild time. I know we regularly almost lose our marbles over here. I say that jokingly. I mean, we're very fortunate, but I've got 2 littles, a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old out of school and trying to work. I mean, I just have so much empathy for parents around the world trying to, and especially for kids that are high needs or need any kind of additional supports, which ours does. Some days are rough.
Yeah. And I have a roommate who's working the Corona ward. So
who's working? Oh my gosh.
Yes. She's a nurse. I'm telling you, I admire her so much, and it's
oh my heavens.
And then it's
also terrifying. So is she like? Do you guys share the same living space?
Yes, but we pretty much keep our 6 feet distance.
You do. You're able to kind of self-isolate still. Yeah. Oh man. Well, good luck. I too have so much gratitude, and I know some nurses as well on the front lines, and it's an amazing time to watch people stay committed to that, that work. It's just, mind-boggling. Well, fingers crossed. Stay healthy. Have lots of vitamin C. We should have kept Dr. Craig on. Like, so tell us what we all should be doing. Oh my goodness, I wasn't fast enough on my feet with that one. I should have been like, here, we'll do swapsies today. I'll give you some tips and then you give us some tips. Yeah, but from what I read out there, right, we all need to be taking more vitamin C, vitamin D, which helps control the inflammatory response, like mostly all of the regular antioxidants, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin A, which is good lung support, vitamin C. And I'm no doctor, but I do a lot of reading and I always have done on health.
Well, it was good to see you, Heather. And
good to see you too.
See you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Charlotte, if you have a question and you want to pipe in, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you're welcome to also drop me an email, info@legalwebsitewarrior.com. Really hope you're doing well and staying safe. Okay, bye-bye.